In this episode of the Rockets Chop Shop podcast, I talk about my takeaways from the Dallas Mavericks game, and I also look at some clutch stats. There's some stats that I've been combing through for the team that you guys are really going to be surprised about. So tap in and enjoy the show. If you want to support the Chop Shop, make sure you stop by our merch store. We got great sales right now going on for Christmas. We dropped the price on a lot of items in there, pretty much dirt cheap. So stop by the merch store, pick you up a shirt, pick up a sweater, pick up a hoodie, pick up a mug. Just show support to the channel as we keep rocking with y'all and providing you this heat. Keep rocking with us and support our channel through buying merch at the merch store. So hit the Chop Shop merch store. The link to the store is going to be at the bottom of this video in the description. So check it out today. Show love to the channel, pick you up some great merch, quality content, quality basketball, quality merch. The Rockets just finished the game against the Dallas Mavericks. And it was a really entertaining game to watch. Obviously they didn't win and they made some mistakes and made some errors down the stretch of the game, and where you would want to take back some of those plays. Guys were missing shots. You had Alp missing some shots. You had Jabari missing some threes. You had KPJ having some turnovers. You had Jalen missing shots. But, as you guys know where I stand on this, whenever our players get to experience these meaningful games, I think it's a victory for everybody. And later on, I'm going to talk about some of their clutch numbers and how they're doing in these kind of close games. But right now, I wanted to focus on just some takeaways from the game. One of the key things that I saw was the improvement of Jabari Smith Jr. Literally night and day from where he started off in Summer League, where he started off at the beginning of the season to where he is now. He is just a better player. I mean, his acceleration to his game can only be attributed to his work ethic and his ability. And we've seen the videos of him shooting around. There was a thing where Coach Lucas had to basically tell him he got to go home. Like, you can't keep shooting because I have plans for the holidays. And that's the type of stuff you want to see from the guy. There was a quote he had after the game stating that, he wants to be the player that we can throw on the other team's best player for him to shut them down and play them. And, this is really has been something that's coming through with him being able to guard, different types of players and different types of star players. I mean, there's a game he's guarded Giannis and, in those two matchups that he's guarded Giannis, he has Giannis shooting 40%. And you got to remember the first matchup, Giannis cooked them. So this speaks to, the effort that he put in the second game. You have a guy with the archetype that could guard Giannis Antetokounmpo and a Luka Doncic. And, against Luka in this game, when we play them against Luka, a lot of his matchups weren't just straight up isolation. Luka was able to make a couple threes on him in isolation. But as far as other than, I think he made 2 threes. Other than that, Luka only had really one other shot, and against Jabari. A lot of the times he has to get the screen to try to switch off to a lesser defender to defend him. And, that is something that you want to see from a guy that's drafted that high. Once again, as you guys know, my stance between him and Paolo and Keegan Murray and Ivy and, even Chet when he starts playing. We'll wait to see what Chet is defensively. But with Jabari, the upside for him is the two-way ability. And, a lot of people aren't keen on defense nowadays in the NBA, but the defense wins championships. I mean, you can look at all the best defensive teams in the NBA. They're the ones that make it to the Final Four in the playoffs. You'll see it'll be a who's who of defense in the NBA. It's really a prerequisite for you to be a champion. You have to be, most of the times, more often than not, it's a top 10 defense that's there. And Jabari Smith is a guy that is a piece in any defense in the NBA. You could plop him right now the way he is, warts and all, on pretty much any team in the league, and he could start for them as a baseline 3-and-D player, a guy you can go tell, hey, you got Giannis this game, hey, you got Luka, you got James Harden. He could guard all those players. You've seen him step out on Steph, you've seen him step out on Dame and hold his own. So I think that's the upside and the versatility. Another thing that Jabari was able to do in this game was be able to show his offensive package, and this is something that I've been preaching on and talking about really all season. And I'm going to keep talking about it till it comes to fruition. When you have a guy that's 6'11", that can hit threes, and for the last 15 games of the season, Jabari's up to 39.1% as a three-point shooter, which is impressive. This is impressive and it's sustainable. And in fact, he needs to get more volume on that, but that the shooting is real and is starting to translate to the NBA. When you have a guy that has that ability to shoot at 6'11", now he's starting to get more comfortable putting the ball on the ground. We've seen how he improves in attacking closeouts. We've seen how he's doing now trying to punish smaller defenders in the post. When he puts it all together, man, you have really the upside for that is unimaginable. I'm assuming Jabari is probably going to be in all NBA discussions probably in a year or two from now, just based on his baseline defensive skill. People want to talk about athleticism, but don't account for a player of his size being able to move his feet and have the lateral quickness to be able to stay in front of guards. To me, that's just as much as an athlete as a Jalen Green or a Derrick Rose in his prime dunking or having a 48-inch vertical. The ability to change and stop on a dime, to be able to change direction, is just as impressive as that. And the fact that he's able to do this is really, really impressive. Leads me to my next point as far as where he fits within the team. I'm honestly, I know, obviously Paulo is a great player, and he's going to be an all-star, superstar player. When the time comes, and he's already probably maybe not probably, he's likely the leading um, vote getter for the Rookie of the Year. But I'm totally comfortable that we drafted Jabari Smith. Actually, the upside there is so crazy with the two-way part, because I'm not thinking about just having an exciting player. I'm thinking about a player that can win me championships. You know what I mean? And I think he has that upside ability. And when you look at it in the context of the Rockets team with Jalen Green, they haven't really explored their game together. I've seen, some of the plays that Jabari was trying to make off of Jalen passes. In this game against Dallas, Jalen had a couple pick and pops that he was able to give to Jabari, but they really haven't mastered being able to play off of each other. One positive is that Jalen and Sengun are playing off of each other very well, and most of Jalen's shots are assisted on through screens or in some way, shape, or form by Sengun. And if and the vice versa, a lot of Sengun shots are assisted by Jalen, whether it's in a pick and roll or him just feeding him in certain positions when he gets into the paint and needs an outlet. I also saw some flashes of Sengun and Jabari playmaking for each other, whether it's Jabari hitting that sweet dime, or Sengun using his body to screen off for Jabari in the post in order to get him shots. And when I made one of the first kind of topical videos I made on this channel was one that you can watch. It's going to be in the description of this video, called Alperen Sengun is Baby Jokic. Alperen Sengun is Baby Pau Gasol. Is that the Lakers back then with their triangle system, they were able to run two bigs because a lot of the stuff that the spacing issues that you have with two bigs is mitigated when one of your bigs is a great passer like Pau Gasol was. And if you see the fact that Jabari is not a bad spacer and Sengun is a great passer, and they're both pretty much, when they're going to be in their peaks, they're going to be monsters in the paint for different reasons. Obviously, Sengun with the post-up ability and the passing, and then Jabari with the ability for himself to be able to shoot over small defenders. I'm telling you, that shot in the paint, the little dribble pull-up that he has, is going to be like a 50% shot when he gets right. When he gets it right, it's going to be a 50% shot. Then you can imagine the type of actions you could run in the paint, where you're running a big on big pick and rolls, when you're running big on big dribble handoffs and things like that. These are all in the cards, and what that does is it exponentially just opens up your offense to different things. Then when you throw in that third man of Jalen in there with his shooting ability coming off of screens, with his ability to get downhill into the paint, then you could just really wreak havoc. And we've seen, different trios of players that play off of each other. The most recent being Draymond, Steph, and Clay. Obviously that's two guards and a big, but there's been trios throughout history, and most of it is going to be a post, a guy that can shoot, and a guy that's athletic that can get downhill. And to me, that's the combination that you can really do havoc with. The question for me is, can we do that in our current system? I don't know. I think maybe if they were more intentional in developing and designing plays for that, and the collective IQ improves, possibly. But I don't know if they'll be able to do that in the current system that they have right now. That's one of the main reasons I'm really kind of, I'm okay to a coaching change, because I just feel like there's so much potential with our players that in a offense that's more predicated on movement, an offense that's more open and more diverse, rather than the 5 out and pick and roll and isolation, that they would be able to play better off of each other. Through the stretches of the Dallas game that we were having the best offensive sequences when they played through Alp. And this was just apparent because he was able to play make. And this, not saying Alp is going to have 7 assists every game, but when me and Space were doing the over under for this season, we had him at about possibly over 4 or 5. And it's just, they went away from it. And the fact that they try to force the pick and roll thing, even though we are, one of the worst pick and roll teams in the NBA, we do it on high volume and we're still not getting the benefits from it. We try to force that. We try to see, and you'll see later on when I talk about how we do in the clutch, how, some of the things that they say about defense and, oh, who's the best player for this player and that player. It's all cap. All the numbers show Alperen is the best for the team. Whenever he's on the court, the team is doing its best. The team works and functions better when he's on the court. And really, Jalen Green really needs Alperen Sengun. Jalen Green really needs Alperen Sengun because he makes everything go for him. So, I think that, just from this game and just from the other games as they're playing, as they're developing chemistry, I really love what I'm seeing from Alp, Jalen, and Jabari. And the fact that when they can play off of each other and they start clicking, that's a devastating trio. That's a devastating trio where you have a wing forward in Jabari that can guard the best player and take them out, where you have a guard in Jalen that could, guard on his own and do a good job guarding certain types of guards. And when he's on and he's not in a slump and he's making his shots, and really his issues are shot selection. He has a terrible shot selection. When his shot selection is improved and when they're playing through the post, because you have an asset there that's going to make the whole thing easier for everybody, when they're able to commit to that and not play the selfish brand of basketball, then they'll be able to make some movement. And what I'm curious to see is what happens going forward with this rebuild. We have a lot of questions that need to be answered. And, I think this next offseason is going to be very, very, very important for them to be able to answer those questions. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the Dallas game. So in this segment, I'm going to talk about how the Rockets have been playing in all these close games and what the numbers are telling us about how they're performing. So I wanted to look at, their close games and really look at the clutch minutes. And the NBA defines clutch minutes as in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes or less, within 5 points or less from your opponent. So you could be 5 points up or 5 points down from them or lower than that. So it's when the games are really close in the fourth quarter. That's what it considers clutch minutes. And in these minutes, the Rockets are performing kind of a mixed bag, but we're going to see some things that are going to surprise some of you guys and some things that are pretty obvious. One of the biggest things that I want to kind of point out is number one, our EFG in the clutch moments is the worst in the NBA. So we're shooting 38.9% on EFG for our EFG percentage, which is, it kind of ties into some of the things that we are seeing, which is kind of the shot quality that the guys are getting late in games when defenses turn up, especially now that teams are playing the zone defenses on us. A lot of the shot selection gets really, really poor, and that leads to that bad field goal, effective field goal percentage, which considers twos and threes. Now, positive is that the Rockets are number one in the NBA and getting to the free throw line. Those are those attacks. We're one of the top driving teams in the NBA, and that should be a trend that keeps going forward. Being able to attack the paint and get to the line, and as our guys develop, that's a skill that they're going to be able to cultivate and be really good at. So we're number one in the NBA in clutch free throw attempts, which is really, really impressive for a young team. Another trouble area, offensive rating, kind of ties in with the EFG, 27th in offensive rating, which is not good for a 91.9. But here's something that's going to surprise you guys. The Rockets are actually the second best clutch defense in the NBA. And this is not cap. This is not based on some statistical anomaly or some weird kind of low frequency thing. This is real. We are actually tied for 12th in clutch minutes in the NBA. And these numbers are from before this Dallas game. So I know we played clutch minutes with them. And so that'll actually add to the aggregate. But from what we've been doing, the Rockets are second in the NBA in clutch defense behind Denver. And if you watch Denver, they have a really good closing defense, especially with Jokic on the floor. Our net rating in the clutch is ranks 11th in the NBA with 7.6. So if we're able to play every game like we play the clutch, we might just be a winning team, might be in the playoffs. Assist percentage ranks 14th, which isn't bad. The assist to turnover ratio is 27th, which is not great at all. That is not a great measure. And the assist ratio, we're almost dead last. We're 29th. And assist ratio looks at the number of assists you're generating per possession. So we're not doing good in that. We're not getting enough passes out from our players and that leads to that EFG, the shot quality. And you know who suffers a lot in these moments? Not only do our backcourt suffer, a lot of our dependent players like Jabari, like KJ, like some of our forwards that have to play on the court in these moments, they suffer because the shot quality isn't great. A lot of times it's kind of some late, heroic bailout shots that they have to do. We're dead last in the EFG percentage, and we're dead last in EFG percentage, and we are 26th in turnover percentage. Our true shooting, we're 27th. It's better than our EFG. It's not last because we actually get to the free throw line and we're hitting them at a decent rate. The Rockets, a majority of their shots in the clutch moments are from 2-point, and they're shooting 63% of those shots are from twos, 36 from threes. But overall, getting to the free throw line has really helped us out. And because we have a 7-9 records in this game, 7-10 now after this Dallas game. But that's impressive to me for the team. And one other impressive stat that we have, even though we're one of the worst turnover teams in clutch moments, we are number one in the NBA in forcing turnovers for our opponents. So defensively, the team is solid. And so let me look at some of the individual play of our players to kind of point out who the standouts are for our defense. Now I'm looking across the board from our team. Everybody's pretty solid except Dacian Nix and Garrison Mathews when it comes to defensive rating. Everybody, even Garrison is straight. Dacian Nix has 166 defensive rating right now in clutch moments, but he's only played about 2 minutes in those clutch games. So that's 2 minutes too many, in my opinion. He is a great backup point guard, but I think he was probably playing when either Kevin Porter was out or somebody had to have been hurt for him to be in there. But he's given up 166 points per 100 possessions, which is astronomically not good, right? But you look at some, the guys that we have. Garrison Mathews, 93.8 defensive rating. His offensive rating is 110. A 110 offensive rating is pretty good. 93.8 defense is pretty good. He's a plus 16. Bruno Fernando, he has an 87.5 defensive rating, which is elite. But you look at his offensive rating, it's 87.5 as well. So he's a net zero. So he brings you nothing on offense. And the defense, even though it is good, to me, the net zero doesn't really work. I'm tired of seeing them bring him in for Sengun. It's not a working, it doesn't work. And we'll look at that in a second. Jabari Smith, 93.2 offensive rating, 86.3 defensive rating, which is elite. Positive 6.8 in clutch moments. So Jalen Green, 85 defensive rating, 90.8 offensive rating for a plus 5.8. That defense is pretty elite. You've seen him guard some of the best players in the league in those moments. Usman Garuba, very disappointing in this 59.1 offensive rating. That's horrible. A defensive rating is elite at 84 for a net rating of minus 24.9. That is losing basketball. You cannot be a zero. He's a negative on offense, the point that is causing us to be beat by 24 points while he's on the court. He should never be on the court during these moments until his offense catches up. Kenyon Martin Jr., I was surprised by this. His offensive rating is 73.5 to a defensive rating of 83, which is a really, really good defense. The offense is bad, and he's a minus 9.5 when he's on the court. Eric Gordon is 82 defensive rating, which is super elite. 92.5 offensive rating, which is meh, plus 9.6 for EG. Kevin Porter Jr. has an 81 defensive rating, which is super elite in the clutch. He's our third best defender in clutch moments, and a 91.5 offensive rating, which isn't great. Same thing with him and Jalen. Need that to be above 95. He is a plus 9.6 in these clutch moments. One thing about Kevin Porter Jr. that he really, really, really needs to improve on, obviously, is the decision-making in those moments. If you look at his assist to turnover ratio, he has a 0.63 assist to turnover ratio in the clutch. That means that he is turning the ball over more than he is assisting. That is crazy. That's almost like he's going to turn the ball over twice for every one assist. So that's not good. You want your assists to turnover ratio to be above 2. To me, that's a good measure. 2 is a good number when it's above. It's almost half. So that is not good. 0.63 really needs to improve on that. To me, a lot of the shot quality issues that we have come down to that between him and Jalen Green, with those some of those assist to turnover ratio, and Jalen's even worse than him at 0.6. So our backcourt is if I do my math, so let's just average them out. They're about a 0.6 assist to turnover ratio coming out the backcourt. That means they're turning the ball over more than they're actually getting assists. And that, to me, that is for guys like Garuba, for Kenyon, for some of the Jabari, that's directly correlated to them. On how their offense is generating, and that may be why some of their numbers are so low. For Tari Eason, he has a very elite 78.6 defensive rating in the clutch, 92.3 offensive rating. He's a plus 13 in the clutch. And here's the biggest bombshell of them all. Bench Sengun, right? Bench him. Oh, it's a close game. Bench him. We can't have him out there when it matters. Well, guys, Alperen Sengun is number 1 in defensive rating in the clutch. In 10 games he's played, he is a 76.7 defensive rating. So he has the best defensive rating in the clutch on the team, and I'm sure it might be top in the league. And he has a 97.1 offensive rating, which from all the high volume clutch players, that's number 1. Sengun leads the Houston Rockets with a plus 20.4 net rating in clutch moments. He also has, the assist to turnover ratio is 1.5, which is tied for first on the team with Eric Gordon. He is generating the assist ratio when he's on the court. He's generating 21% of assists. He's leading our team in offensive rebound percentage in clutch moments with 15.2. Defensive rebound, Jabari Smith is number 1 in that category. We know Jabari is a rebounding king. Usman Garuba overall rebound is the number 1 with 16.7%. The turnover ratio, number 1 on the team is Usman Garuba somehow with 33% in turnovers. Number 2 is Kevin Porter Jr., 17%. Number 3 is Jalen Green with 13. Actually, number 3 is Eric Gordon, then Jalen Green, then Alperen Sengun. The EFG is terrible across the board. Alp shooting 35% on EFG in the clutch. Tari 25%. Kevin Porter 28%. These are nasty numbers. Eric Gordon is a good at 50. KJ's at 20. Garuba's 100%. Jalen is 47.6%, which is actually pretty good. Jabari's 34%. Garrison is 125%. I think he just hit a couple shots. True shooting, the same thing, just bad across the board. The usage in the clutch, number 1 in usage is Jalen Green. No, actually, Kevin Porter is number 1 with 29.9% usage. To me, that number needs to go down. Jalen is second at 24%. And remember, the usage and touches are different. People use usage and touches interchangeably. That is not how they're supposed to be used. Usage is a touch that ends with a shot. So that means that for the relative to how much you touch the ball and to the team's possessions, how many of those possessions are ending in you shooting it? And Kevin Porter having that 29, almost 30%, a third of our team shots almost are coming from him. I need that number to be a little bit lower. I need that to be around maybe the low 20s. Alp is at 14%. Jalen's at 24.5%. Jabari is at 16%. Daisha Nix, when he is in, is at 33%, which is wild. Tari Eason's at 25%, which is wild. But yeah, that shot distribution needs to go. That's crazy. The pace is really another thing that I was surprised about. Number 1 in pace in our team in the clutch is Bruno Fernando. Number 2 is going to be Eric Gordon, and number 3 is Alperen Sengun, which is weird. And number 4 is KJ. So that's how the team is performing. I'm sure all of you are shocked seeing these numbers in these close games and these moments where the games are on the line. You want your best players out there. So every time they sub out Alp and it's against a team that runs pick and roll or anything like that, I'm just perplexed. A lot of the things that we see, once again, if you understand basketball, we get killed. The reason Luka dropped 50 on us, the reason Ja dropped damn near 50 on us, the reason all these guards are having their best games against us is because our perimeter defense and our help defense is trash. But it is improving in those moments. Now, look how they're doing in these clutch moments when they dial it up. It's a team effort. So they can play elite defense in close games. I've seen them shut down teams for almost a whole quarter. I forgot what team that we lost to Miami. They didn't even score a point in like a long stretch of the game. It's because of our offense is trash. And there's only one player on that court that isn't going to rely on Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green to generate offense. His name is Alperen Sengun. Just like Luka just said in the press conference, Jalen Green is the star. Build around him. He also said that the team is making a lot of good strides. In the previous game, Nikola Jokic said that they should play through Alperen Sengun more. He's really talented. That's it's common sense. Build around Jalen Green, play through Alperen Sengun. Those are not mutually exclusive concepts. Those are things that you can do. You play through Alperen Sengun because it helps everybody out. If you look at it, a lot of our team offense is really relying on Alp, and Alp is really relying on Jalen Green. And I love that combination between the two of them. And now Jabari is getting into the mix. So they're trying to mix up a little trio there. But, this is what we're seeing from these games. The clutch moments are there, and this should be a positive for the guys. This should be a positive for the fan base that your team is able to step up when it counts. They just need a couple more pieces to be able to finish it out, and they may just need a different offense. But that's pretty much it for this podcast. If you're not subscribed to the Chop Shop channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, visit our merch store, support the channel, buy some great merch, and then keep rocking with us. And happy holidays from myself, from Space, from all our contributors to you all, and stay safe with your families as you enjoy the holidays. And just keep rocking with our content, and we'll keep rocking with y'all.